So, welcome to our summer survival parenting clinic. It is great to have you here. For those of you who don't know me, I am Anisa Lewis. I'm a positive parenting coach. My strapline always used to be, I'm passionate about helping you to raise confident and happy children, no matter what's going on. And that is still very, very true and very right for what I do. But I actually think I've been reflecting on this recently because in September I will have been doing this for 10 years. I have a background in teaching and education, but I've been running my own business and supporting families for the last 10 years, which is quite significant. And actually, my reflection is about my job absolutely is to arm your toolkit, but I think my job is also to help you understand your child better. And every family is different, every situation is different, everyone is navigating something that somebody else is not. So there are some similarities within that, but I think ultimately, one of my roles is to help you to understand your family that little bit better, or your kids a little bit better. So today we're here to talk about the summer that is looming in front of us. I know Scottish families are already on holiday. I know some private schools have already broken up or are about to break up, and then state schools are in for another couple of weeks. But this last couple of weeks can feel like the whole school year rolled into one because everyone's tired, heat waves come back, and it can just be, well, it can be quite full on. We're at quite a different stage in our households because my daughter has just turned 18 and has finished her A levels. So although this is summer for us, she's kind of been off school since May. And it's interesting because it's like she's no longer a child, but she's also not quite an adult, although the world sees her as an adult. So we are definitely navigating something different this summer. Thank you very much for filling in the questionnaire when you came in. It's really interesting. So I went through it and I sort of analysed the themes that were coming up. And I think screens is definitely a summer theme, boredom, possibly sibling fighting. I think the guilt around juggling work and parenting is a theme. Emotions was a theme that came through from your questionnaire. So thank you very much for taking the time to fill those in because it does inform how I then give the information and what I say. So my theme is very much let's fill your toolkit, but let's come with an understanding of where our children are coming from and where we're coming from as well over the summer. But I think from my analysis, with a little bit of help from AI, the thing that I found actually, which was quite interesting, was actually the summer brings for parents decision fatigue. And I can just sit here now thinking, reflecting back over past summers where it's been like, oh my goodness, even before 9 o'clock, we've navigated question upon question upon question, and we've made all of these decisions, and it's exhausting, absolutely exhausting for parents. But I would be remiss if I didn't tell you about the brain. Now, I love a little bit of a brain conversation. So if you are in the chat box, if you're listening live, let me know in the chat box how you're feeling about summer. If you are watching the replay, let me know in the comments on YouTube or ping me an email at hello@anisalewis.com and let me know how you're feeling about the summer. Now, the reason I'm asking this question is, okay, so someone's just mentioned they're dreading it, is because the mind is an amazing thing and it will believe what you tell it. So if you are sitting here thinking, the summer is going to be awful, I know there's going to be fights, the emotions are going to be spilling over, I know I'm going to be feeling really guilty because I'm having to juggle so much, all of those kind of things, the brain goes, well, I'm going to help that come true because it can't tell between fact and fiction. And so what it does then is it looks for the evidence to support how you're feeling about the summer. And it will go, oh, look, they've just fought over a crumpet. Tick, there's evidence that it's going to be an awful day. Oh, look, plans that we had have just fallen through. Tick, evidence that it's going to be a terrible summer. And so actually what I'm saying to you is, be realistic, absolutely. Go in with your eyes open. It's not going to be all wonderful, lovely family getting on the whole summer. That's just not realistic. We are all people with feelings and emotions and things that are going to come up. And therefore, we have to go in with an open mind. However, let's go in with a little bit of actually, I'm gonna be all right this summer. I'm gonna ride with what flows in my direction and I'm gonna cope and it's gonna be okay. So let's have a look and see. So someone's looking forward to easier mornings. Love that, absolutely. Without the pressure of trying to get everybody out the door by a certain time. That's a great one. Um, Okay, so someone is also saying that it's the first summer holidays for them. So that is an interesting one. So you're going to go through some, probably in the first week of the holidays, you're going to have like, I call it transition fatigue, because you're transitioning out of one way of doing things and into a new way of doing things. And you actually have to allow for a little bit of ebb and flow in there. And so then we've got somebody else who's also worried that one child doesn't do so well with the freedom of the summer, and another child who absolutely loves the freedom of the summer, and it's trying to get that right. And someone was also saying here the importance of planning ahead, but also the different attitudes that parents and families have to it. You're absolutely and completely right. So I'm saying to you, how can you change your mindset about the summer? How can we go in prepared? And that, I guess, is why you are with me today. So one of the things I like to do is I like to start with the end in mind. What do you want to be saying to your parents, to your kids, to a friend in the playground as you're dropping your kids off in September? What do you want to be saying to them about how this summer was? We had a great time. We did some wonderful things. We rode the wave of big emotions in the heat, but actually it was all right. Or do you want to be saying that was the worst summer ever? I'm so pleased that they're back at school. When we start with the end in mind, it means that we can put things in place to make the summer flow in a slightly different way from this point here moving forward. So have a think. What do you want to be saying to yourself, to other people about the summer come September when you're sending them back to school? So someone else is saying, good to have time together, but a lack of structure can be tricky. It can be a trigger for behavior and can end in siblings arguments. And you're right, I can't take that away completely. But I think one of my main points today is, can we make a plan? Can we plan, have a think about how we're going to manage some of these situations now before they arise? Can we gather our children together and our family together and have a whole conversation about screens, about sibling arguments, about whatever it is, natural consequences coming into play? Can we do that now before the summer starts? Or even if your summer has started, can you gather your thoughts on it and then have a chat to your family? Now, it isn't a dictatorship. It is about talking to your family and gathering their ideas so that you can come up with a way through together. Children are much more willing, probably is the word I'm looking for, to take on new ideas if they feel that they have had a say. I'm not saying that you have to do exactly what your children are suggesting, but involving them in the process is much more powerful than just telling them this is how we're doing screens this summer. I would encourage you to get a good old-fashioned paper calendar for the months of July and August, and I would like you to pop in what is already planned. What, like if you know you're going camping, if you know you're going overseas, if you know your kids are in clubs some days, whatever it is that has already been pre-organized, pop it in. Then what I would like you to do is to go through that, and I'd like you to pop in some rest days, some recharging the battery days, perhaps if it's only a morning or an afternoon, but a time where actually that is an activity. Recharging your batteries is an activity, so that if someone says to you, are you free on the 27th of July? And you can say, no, because you've already planned in a day to recharge your batteries, looking at what's happened over the week, looking at where your family is at, looking at moods, looking at the weather and all that kind of stuff. Because actually what I find is that we try and emulate the school term during the holidays. And actually the school holidays are there for a reason. They're there for everybody to rest where possible and recharge your batteries. I think also what this does is it means you can perhaps create some sort of rhythm for your family for the summer, because that's what school does. It provides a scaffolding for families to function on a day-to-day basis. The summer arrives and we dread it because there's no structure. There's no scaffold, there's no rhythm, there's no flow. And what I've found with my own past summers is you just get a rhythm going and then you go away for a week. And then you come back and you're trying to reestablish that, having had some really wonderful family time away. So this is where I love the word rhythm. And but I also think anchors is quite an important thing. Now, someone said their children thrive off routine. And you're right, many of our neurodivergent children love routine. I am a woman who loves a plan. I wake up in the morning and I say to my family, "So what's the plan today?" And they kind of all look at me like, let us just be, let us just do what we need to do. But plans are important because they structure things. So it might be that you then have some sort of visual where you've got the plan for the week on here so that people can see what's happening. Or you create your summer rhythm, your summer routine. Now, that's going to look different for children with different needs and age groups. So if you've got teenagers and you're like, well, we're all going to sit here together and we eat breakfast at 8 o'clock in the morning, it's not going to be greeted with the most enthusiasm. But if you could have an anchor in the day that says, actually, I'm going to break up my work day and we're all going to sit and chat and have some lunch together. Or actually, when I finish my work day, we're all going to go for a walk. Or it might be that there are no screens in your house until a job has been done, or everybody's out of their PJs, or whatever it is. But you need some sort of something, a rhythm and a flow that's going to work for your family. Now, I can't tell you what that is because I'm not part of your family and I don't know the quirks of your family and I don't know the personalities of your children. But think about how you can make your days a little bit more predictable, but also allowing for some flexibility within there. What are your anchors going to be through the day? I think it's important to have some pre-discussions or at least some pre-thinking around screens. So what are your rules around screens in the summer? Are you going to be able to be on them guilt-free? Because you know what, we have enough guilt in our life over many other things. Do we need to put screen guilt in there as well? I can't answer that. That is something for you and your family to discuss. Is there going to be a couple of hours in the day where every screen device, whatever, or the remotes for them, go into screen jail? Now, creating a screen jail is actually quite fun. You get a box, an Amazon parcel box, a shoe box, or whatever box, and the kids can all decorate it. And then for a certain hour or so in the day, iPads go into it, tablets go into it, TV remote goes into it, phones go into it, and that is your screen-free time of the day. So at least you know if they've been on it for 3 hours up until that point, you've got that built in. Are you going to have an agreement where actually there are no screens until 3 o'clock in the afternoon? I don't know. But it's much better to have these pre-discussions with your children rather than thinking up things on the spot and having them react. The other thing I would say to you is, once you have decided what it is, consistency is key. So if you think, oh, you know what, we're all a bit overwhelmed today, let's just scrap the screen rule that we put into place, your children start to learn that actually rules don't really have a place in your home. And actually, just because mum or dad say this doesn't actually mean it's what it happens. So that is all I would say to you is whatever you decide to do around screens, your anchor points or whatever, try and be as consistent as you can. So I would choose some simple rules. I would choose some simple anchor points rather than making your life too complicated, because you've also got to remember them while you are juggling life and decision fatigue and all the rest of it. So think about what's going on. I would also look at screens in context of the week. So if you have been spending long days on the beach, if your kids have been in clubs, if, I don't know, you've done lots of baking with them and spending time outside in the garden, then it's absolutely okay for them, in my world, again, you make the rules for your house, for them to come home and have some screen time. For me, that's okay. If actually they've had a really busy week and you have a downtime Saturday and they spend some time watching something on a replay link or whatever it is, that's something different. You may want to think about YouTube, because the issue I have with YouTube is the shorts, where they're just constantly bombarded with dopamine hits. And I don't think that is a healthy use of screens, but actually doing some gaming is using a different part of the brain. Watching something where it's maybe sparking their imagination is using a different part of the brain. So just think about the use across the week or across the day of how they are interacting with the screen. But also, if you know that your children are triggered by screens or get overly emotional by screens, you may have to have some tighter rules in your home than people who actually are using screens to help their kids regulate when they are dysregulated. So we in our house, because my daughter is autistic, we use screens quite a lot for regulation because that works for us. But I can also see when she's tipped over and we have a bit of a code word and it's like, okay, come on, we've got to get off now. We've got to go for a walk. We've got to walk the dog. We've got to do some baking. We've got to do something that then gets our head back into a better place. Okay. I think that's probably enough on screens unless anyone's got any specific questions around screens. I think something else that comes up quite regularly in the summer is boredom. How many times have you heard I'm bored and you've literally opened your eyes and been awake for about 10 minutes? What I would say on boredom is that we live in an instant gratification world. So our kids' needs are constantly being met. Being bored is healthy for them. Being bored is a problem-solving activity. Being bored allows them to use some creativity. It is okay for your children to be bored. What usually happens in families is a child will come up to you and say, I'm bored, and then you list off a reel of things that they can do, and they don't like any of them. So they still remain bored, and then they're cross and you're cross. Whereas what I would say to you is it's not your job to fix boredom. Depending on the age of your children, you may need to do some scaffolding around it. So I have got, which I will pop a link to in the email that I send out, but I've got this handout where you brainstorm some ideas, you look at what different things that you can say, well, bored could be build, craft, or cook something. O is outside time. So you could have some sort of structure like this where you've already done some brainstorming about some things that they could do. You could set up a boredom basket or a cupboard in your house where if they're bored, you say, okay, no problem, go and look in the cupboard and see what you want to do. I think the easy fix here when our kids are bored is for them to go to a screen because it's a quick fix, it's easy, they don't have to think about it. So actually, if we can set up some things in advance to stop the boredom, like creating this thing with them in advance, this poster with some ideas that you stick on the fridge, whether it is having the cupboard or the basket with some ideas. Don't go out and buy lots of things. Just search through the playroom or go and look under the bed and find things that your children have long since forgotten about. Because what I find, or what I found with my daughter, is simply moving an item from one space to another was enough for her to reignite her interest in that item. It was amazing. All of these long since forgotten toys suddenly had a rebirth because I simply moved their location in our house. So please don't go out and buy and spend lots of money on bits and pieces. Look at what you've got in the house already. The other thing is that so much of our kids have lots and lots of stuff. So it might be that you have a bit of a pre-summer sort out to try and clear some things and rotate through some toys, some items. But even teenagers will go back to playing things if you leave them in plain sight. So get out the Play-Doh and just leave it on the dining room table. Get out, I don't know, the Lego and leave it on the coffee table in the lounge room. Leave things in places that are unexpected and see what they do with it. So that is what I will say on boredom. It's not your job to fix it, but also have a look at what you've got in your house that you could repurpose or put somewhere else that could help with boredom. I think a lot of working parents can feel quite guilty about the summer because they are juggling working and they are juggling being at home and all the demands that come with both responsibilities. And so I think when you are a working parent, I would look for moments of connection. And whether you're working or not, I know there are parents who take the summer off, and that's fine. And I know there are parents out there who are full-time carers, and that is okay as well. But where could you build in moments of connection in your day? Does everybody pile into your bed and have a morning cuddle? Do you have lunchtime together? Do you, I don't know, have a dance party at the end of the day because actually that's a nice shake it all out kind of a moment? I don't know, but where can you build in moments of connection with your kids? Now, emotions. Emotions is a big one. And emotions come because there's less routine, because there's more transitions that our kids have to move through. There's more togetherness, which is an absolutely wonderful position to be in, but can also bring more emotions with it. And so I think some of my thoughts around emotions is emotions and behavior are usually a tip of an iceberg. what is actually going on under the surface? What is that emotion trying to tell us? If you've listened to me talk before, I quite often talk about an acronym HALT, where you can sort of assess the emotion. Are they hungry? Are they angry? So angry, I use lots of emotions there. Are they feeling an emotion? Are they lonely? And now this is an interesting one. They've spent all day with you or they've been with friends all day, but actually they can still feel alone. And then the last one is tired. So HALT is a good acronym to try and sort of assess what's going on and what you need. I would also say for the summer, can you lower your expectations around certain things? I can't say to you what that would be because your house is your house and some children need the expectations to be high. But could you lower expectations just knowing that everybody's going at a different pace or everyone's going to be in a different headspace? Do you have to pick up on every nuance, every argument, everything that crosses your path? Is everything needing to be a teachable moment? Or actually, some things can you think, just gonna walk away from that one because it doesn't need me to be involved in it? I would say choose your battles as well, because a lot of emotion comes around when we think that our kids feel that they're being controlled. So, how can you give them some control of their lives, even if it's just narrowing choices down to one or two choices? But don't feel that everything has to be fixed. Every battle has to go in. I think sometimes with siblings, we jump in too quickly to solve things, and actually, they just need to yell at each other because that is their release of emotion. What I would say around emotions is water is magical. So if emotions are running high, can you get them to go and take their bath or their shower a bit earlier? Can you get them outside in the paddling pool? Can you take them to a swimming pool? Can you walk down to your local river or stream and have a paddle? There is something magical from tots to teens when water is involved. So where can you bring in water? Even just washing your hands and getting water on your wrists in cold water is also quite nice to just do a bit of emotional reset. I would also encourage you to do some repair work with your kids when they're experiencing big emotions. You know, let them know, I see, I hear, I understand, and state some facts of what's going on for them. But also, if you've blown up because you're hot and stressed and you've been triggered by something, don't be afraid to go along afterwards and say, you know what, with hindsight, if I was to have relived that moment, I'm really sorry I wouldn't do it like that. Because that is role modeling to our children a mature way to address problems, emotions, behaviors that come up. None of us are perfect. And I think our children sometimes put us on pedestals and think that we are, whereas that repair work is really important. Or you can say to them, I've never navigated something like this before. I don't know what to do either. Just give me time to go and think. That's also quite powerful. And I am really big on connecting before you correct your children. How can you step in 3 steps before the explosion happens? How can you build in more moments of connection so actually it doesn't get to the escalation point where you do need to step in? And I would also say life is about ebbs and flows. We're going to have some amazing moments. I know you're going to have some amazing moments this summer, but you're also going to have some low moments, and that's okay. We ride the wave, we come back up, and we keep going, and we show up, and we smile, and we laugh, and we try and have fun, and we celebrate our families where possible. So I'm going to end now with giving you 5 permissions for summer. So I give you permission to not have to entertain your children all day, every day. Let them be bored. Let them problem solve. Let them make their own arrangements as long as it is safe to do so. I give you permission to not feel guilty about screen use in your home. I give you permission to not have to rescue your children from boredom, from their arguments, from their emotions at every point. See where it goes, as long as it is safe to do so. I give you permission to not have to recreate school in your home by creating rhythms and routines and structures which are so rigid that there's no flexibility within there. Create a rhythm, create some anchor points, and see how that lands. If it's not landing, then you may need a stronger routine, and that's okay. But if it does land, that's okay. So I give you permission not to have to recreate the school environment. And my last one is I give you permission to not have to love every moment of the summer. So let me know in the chat box something that you're taking away today, something that has resonated with you, something that you think, oh, I'm going to go and do some more thinking about that, or I'm going to put that plan into place. I would love to know your takeaways, your one thing, your what lights you up. While you're doing that, I will let you know that during August, I'm taking some time off. So there will be no more clinic in August, but they will come back in September with a slight rebranding. I'm working on it at the moment, but there are some links to the autumn term. I'm calling them Lives with Anisa. That's what I'm calling them. So they will be back in September, and they are already all listed for September, October, November, and December. So crack on with getting those booked and in your diary. Give yourself something to look forward to, I would like to say. So someone is saying, thank you for the paper planner. I know it's so obvious, isn't it? But what I would say on the paper planner is, you know, some people might say, well, we've got the stuff on the phone so that the kids can all see it. And somebody said to me the other day, I've got an Excel spreadsheet. Excel scares the pants off me, so I don't have an Excel spreadsheet. But I was like, those calendars, those family calendars are really, really difficult to understand. So to put something in really simple form like this, where it can just be on the fridge, on a cupboard where your kids can refer to it, is also really lovely. Okay, so let's see what else we've got here. So we've got paper planners, build connections during the day when everyone is at home. Love that. Anchor points, I think, will help us a lot. There's also going to sort a boredom box out for each of them. Perfect. What I also find with boredom boxes is after about 2 weeks, they lose their magic. So again, you just go back to the back of the cupboard, back to under the bed, and you find something else that hasn't been played with, and you rotate things around. Water calms, absolutely. I know it calms me, and I'm nearly 50. So yeah, a mum said here that she's going to try and avoid filling their days and allow them to be bored and problem solve. Thank you very much. I will enjoy my break. We're off to Cornwall. Very much looking forward to that. Moving old toys around. Love that. Will I send the poster for their activity ideas? Yes, I will attach this to the email that I'm about to send out. These calendars here, there is a great company called Print Bulls, as in print and then bulls, as in the animals. And they do a lot of free downloads. So that might be something to go and look at, but obviously you can find your calendars anywhere you want. But yes, I will send out the boredom poster for you. I will also send out, I didn't talk about bucket lists, but I've got an ideas sheet here about bucket list ideas of things that you might want to do over the summer that might fill some time. So I will send that out as well for you. And one mum said here is about permission not to feel guilty. I'm not about guilt. You know what? We carry enough guilt in parenting as it is. So that brings us right on time to the end of this clinic. Have a magical summer. Do keep in contact and let me know what you've got up to. An email will be coming out to you shortly. If you're not on my email list and would like to be, please send me a message to hello@anisalewis.com and I can make that happen. And have a wonderful summer.